The wind whispered through the black palms of Cryon Delta 6, bending their bladed leaves just enough to carry the scent of ionized air and rotting meat. From his perch, high above the alien amphitheater, Daniel Hayes lay motionless, cheek pressed to the cold stock of his .338 suppressed rifle, fingers resting lightly on the trigger guard. His camouflage, handmade from local flora, merged him into the mottled cliffside like a memory no one recalled until too late. Through the scope, the world sharpened. 300 meters below, General Scarn of the Zarnath Dominion raised his scaled arms to address a sea of Terran prisoners. Shackled and starved, the humans huddled in the clearing like discarded toys. Behind Scarn, banners of writhing glyphs shimmered in ultraviolet light, symbols of conquest, arrogance, ownership. Behold! Scarn's voice boomed through a voice amplifier embedded in his throat. The failed species! You send bullets to a war of minds. Your weapons are fossils, your soldiers soft clay in our claws. Daniel adjusted the windage dial by 2 clicks. Breathed in. Held. Waited. The general swaggered across the raised platform, gesturing to a captured human rifle beside him like it was a museum relic. This? He scoffed, lifting the M4 carbine. This is a toy. Watch now, apes, see how true warriors crush your myths. He snapped the rifle in 2. Exhale. Trigger squeeze. Recoil whispered backward into his shoulder. A split second later, General Scarn's left eye vanished in a red mist. The amplified voice halted mid-syllable as his body folded forward, collapsing into the metal platform like a puppet with cut strings. The prisoners froze. Then screamed. Chaos tore through the alien ranks. Zarnath guards rushed to form defensive rings. Drones launched. Snipers activated thermal scans. But none could pinpoint where the shot came from. Daniel was already gone. He rolled backward down the ridge into the shadows, disappearing into thick underbrush. He didn't need to watch the aftermath. He already knew it: panic, finger-pointing, reports of untraceable human weapons, and the inevitable humiliation of an empire brought low by a single bullet. As he moved silently through the foliage, he slid a hand into his pouch and withdrew a brass casing. On its side, etched by hand, were 4 words. Primitive this, you freaks. He placed it on a moss-covered rock near the river where enemy patrols would soon search. A message. A warning. A promise. Half an hour later, deep in the shadows of a forgotten cave, Daniel unrolled his pack. The chamber was humid, its walls slick with glowing blue mold. He stripped off his camo netting and checked the rifle for fouling. The suppressor was still cool. Barrel clean. 0 drift on the scope. A voice crackled in his earpiece. Ghost, this is Ember. Did you just... I did. Static. Then a low whistle. Scarn? With the bolt action? Daniel leaned back against the rock wall, wiped the sweat from his brow, and said flatly, Left eye. Ember chuckled, breath catching like she didn't believe it. Jesus. You just decapitated half their command structure. You know Corther will descend personally now, right? I'm counting on it. Another pause. You sure you're okay alone out there? No one sees ghosts. He clicked off the radio. The next day, aerial patrols swept the canyons. Broadcasts across rebel frequencies buzzed with hysteria. The warlords blamed sabotage, internal dissent, a new human plasma tech, anything but the truth. They refused to believe that a man with no drones, no neural targeting, no orbital uplink had pierced their honor guard and dropped a general. Pride was a wonderful thing. It kept them blind. That night, Daniel crouched in the tall grass above a crude slave transport trail. He watched as a convoy rumbled past, 6 transports, 20 guards, 100 emaciated Terrans. The lead Zarnath soldier was barking orders into a comm link. No sniper. I swear I saw no muzzle flash. Not plasma, something else. Like the old days. Another replied. Maybe we should request a reassign. Transfer to Varnix moons. Daniel smirked. He didn't shoot this time. Not yet. Let them talk. Let fear set in. He was never just trying to kill them. He was trying to unravel them, one bullet, one myth at a time. Back at his cliffside roost, he rechecked angles, sight lines, escape routes. He mapped wind currents using folded leaves and droplets. Cryon Delta 6 wasn't just a battleground. It was part of his weapon now. In the pouch next to his scope, he placed a single new casing. Blank. Waiting. And on the stone behind the next firing point, he scratched into the surface. One shot. One message. They'd find it soon enough. And then they'd know. The ghosts were real. And they came with rifles. They came at night, hovering on ion thrusters that stirred the jungle into a rustling hiss. Daniel Hayes lay beneath the roots of a fallen tree, mud streaked across his face, heartbeat steady. Above him, 3 Zarnath scout drones pulsed with blue tracking lights, scanning for thermal signatures. The hum of their sensors buzzed against the air like wasps. They were learning. Yesterday, they hadn't bothered with night sweeps. Today, they swept in squads, following scent trails and thermal echoes, guided by artificial intelligence too arrogant to believe a human could outthink it. Hayes didn't move. His body was caked in Cryon's wet earth, masking heat and odor. Around him, water dripped from vines and distant thunder murmured beyond the ridgelines. The jungle protected him now, not because it cared, but because he had earned it. One drone paused above his shelter. A moment passed. Then it glided on, deceived by the stillness. When the last blue glow disappeared into the canopy, Hayes slid out from under the roots and melted into the trees. A kilometer south, beneath a canopy of blood-colored leaves, a young rebel named Rin stumbled through thick underbrush. Barefoot, bleeding too loud. His breathing was ragged, and his makeshift satchel bled data cores, stolen from a Zarnath command post. He didn't see the motionless figure watching from the trees until it spoke. "You're about to get yourself killed." Ren spun, raising a plasma pistol with shaky hands. "Who?" Hayes stepped out from the shadows, lowering his rifle. "You're leaking data chips like breadcrumbs." Ren blinked. Recognition clicked behind his panic. "Wait. Are you?" Hayes raised a finger to his lips. "Quiet." Just then, a low hum rolled in, patrol skiffs close. Hayes grabbed Rin by the collar and yanked him into a depression beneath a thick fern. The hovercraft passed overhead, engines thrumming like beasts. When it faded, Rin exhaled. "I thought you were a story." Hayes looked at him. "I was. Then Scarn died." Rin managed a nervous grin. "I watched it happen. 1 second, he was bragging. Next, he had no face." Hayes gave a faint nod. "You running from that data raid in Zone 9? Ren held up a bent drive. "Stole locations of slave camps. If we can get it to Ember." "We will," Hayes cut in. "But not by running in a straight line like a lit flare." Ren's shoulders dropped. "I didn't think anyone survived long enough to give advice out here." Hayes checked the horizon. "You're not dead yet." They moved through the night in silence. Hayes took the lead, guiding them through narrow ravines and shallow riverbeds, where water muffled footsteps. He avoided open paths, listened to bird patterns, watched for signs, broken moss, redirected insects, flattened grass. Nature always betrayed those who didn't respect it. At dawn, they stopped at a half-collapsed observation post, a human structure buried in vines and moss. Inside, corroded monitors blinked dimly on backup power. Hayes activated the encrypted relay. Ember's voice cracked through, faint but clear. "Signal trace confirmed." "Ghost, is that you?" "Affirmative." "I've got a runner. Drives from Zone 9. A pause. "Alive?" "For now." He looked at Rin, who gave a tired thumbs up. "Good," Ember said. "News of Scarn's death is spreading. We're seeing panic sweeps across the northern sectors. Corthor's ordering executions for failure." Hayes sat against the wall, eyes on the jungle outside. "He's losing control. One more general, and he'll have to show up himself. We need those drives intact. Extraction in 12 hours. Cave System Echo 3. Understood." Hayes killed the connection and turned to Rin. Rest. We move before dusk. Rin nodded and curled up in a corner, asleep within seconds. Hayes remained still, rifle across his lap, listening. Night returned. They moved toward Echo 3 through ravines and crumbling stone ruins of pre-war settlements. Ahead, the jungle thinned into swamp. Ren stumbled on a root and hissed. Hayes caught him before he fell. Quiet, he whispered. A second later, something shimmered across the clearing, a cloaked drone, hovering low. It scanned in slow circles, invisible to untrained eyes. Hayes dropped flat. Pulsecaster. New tech. They've upgraded. Ren lay beside him, frozen. What do we do? Hayes slid his suppressed sidearm free. We distract. He grabbed a rusted comm relay from his satchel, set its distress beacon to loop, then hurled it toward the edge of the swamp. A beat. The pulsecaster jerked and zipped toward the signal. No, Hayes whispered. They sprinted. At the cave mouth, breathing hard, Hayes motioned for Ren to drop and crawl. Inside, a narrow tunnel dipped into pitch-black depths. Ren slumped to the floor. We made it. Hayes nodded. Ember will send pickup. You did well. Ren looked at him, eyes wide with something between awe and exhaustion. You know they're terrified of you, right? They should be. Hayes reached into his pouch and pulled out another casing, etched with new words. Your fear feeds us. He placed it near the entrance, tucked between two rocks. A gift for the next patrol. They won't stop, Ren murmured. Hayes slung his rifle, staring into the dark. Neither will we. Above them, the jungle rustled again. But this time, the fear wasn't coming from the trees. It was crawling into the hearts of the warlords. The scent of scorched metal still lingered in the air when Daniel Hayes stepped into the charred remains of what had once been a Zarnath communication tower. Shattered antennae jutted from the ground like the broken spines of dead beasts. He moved cautiously, rifle tucked close, eyes scanning the blackened walls. Something about the destruction felt too precise. Too intentional. Trap, he muttered. The blast site wasn't random, it had been staged. No data cores left behind. No corpses. No blood trails. Only carefully arranged rubble and a single object sitting untouched in the center of the ruin, a Terran dog tag. Daniel crouched beside it and read the name. Sergeant Louis T. Carmichael. Dead 2 years. He'd buried the man himself in the Andorra caves. The realization struck cold. They wanted him to find this. The warlords had finally stopped pretending he was a rumor. Now they were hunting the hunter. He stood slowly. Corther. Hours later, hidden in the canopy of a black pine thicket, Daniel stared through his scope at a wide clearing being fortified by Zarnath engineers. Trees had been cut down in neat rings. Bunkers had been deployed with magnetic anchors. Dozens of prisoners were being herded to the center, chained to massive stones under guard. Bait. A field general stood at the heart of the formation, clad in polished exoarmor that shimmered under floodlights. He wasn't speaking, he didn't need to. The stage was set for silence, for tension, for the sniper's moral dilemma. Hayes adjusted the magnification and studied the layout. The hostages were spaced to prevent a clean shot. Drones hovered above with wide-arc plasma fields. Sniper suppression fields blanketed the perimeter. Still, he watched. Through his earpiece, Ember's voice broke the quiet. Daniel, are you seeing this? I am. You could take the general. But they'll torch the prisoners the second you pull the trigger. I know. Silence stretched between them. She didn't try to persuade him. She didn't need to. She understood the calculus. A single kill here would validate enemy fears, but cost innocent lives. He continued watching. Movement. A young boy, no older than 12, was shoved forward and forced to his knees next to a rusted ammo crate. A guard handed the general a plasma blade. They're escalating, Ember said, voice tight. They want to draw you out. Daniel closed his eyes for a long moment. The math was unbearable. He looked again. The blade was rising. Decision. Talk me in, he said. Ember's voice took on its familiar precision. 2 flanks. Minimal drone movement on the east. Plasma nets on 20-second intervals. If you time it right, you'll have 4 seconds of dead air. Daniel was already on the move, sliding down the ridge, weaving between boulders and gnarled roots. His ghillie suit trailed broken leaves, his breath steady and measured. He gripped a fragmentation charge in one hand, rifle slung tight. At the forest's edge, he dropped flat behind a moss-covered log. 2 guards were pacing near the perimeter fence. He whispered, "Ping now." "Pinging, got a 6-second pulse drop coming in, now." He moved. Fast. Silent. Knifed the first guard behind the knee and caught the second by the mouth before he could scream. Both were down in seconds. No alarms. No ripples in the plasma field. He advanced, hugging shadows. Near the hostages, a pile of rusting supply crates caught his eye. Perfect cover. He crawled under them, sliding silently until he had a clean view of the general. The blade was still raised. The boy was still trembling. Daniel reached for the charge, primed the timer, set to detonate on a feedback loop timed with the next drone pass. "Now," Ember whispered. 3, 2. Daniel threw the charge. The explosion ripped through the southern bunker, blinding white and concussive. Drones faltered. Plasma fields blinked out. Soldiers scrambled. He popped up, rifle aimed. 1 shot. The general's visor exploded. He dropped in a heap, armor clattering like tin. Before anyone could process what had happened, Daniel was sprinting. Through fire, through smoke. He cut the child's bonds and shoved him toward the jungle. "Run!" Others followed. Guards shouted. Some fired. But confusion reigned. Daniel ducked behind a column of wreckage, dropping 2 more soldiers with precise double taps. The chaos spiraled. Prisoners scattered into the trees. Drones tried to realign but kept colliding with each other mid-course. A voice roared across the loudspeakers, low, guttural, furious. "Corther! They call you Ghost!" The warlord snarled, voice booming from an orbiting relay ship. "But I see you now. No more shadows. No more legends. You're just a man with a gun and bad odds." Daniel dropped his last magazine into place. "That's usually enough," he muttered. Night swallowed the camp. The hostages were gone. The general's body lay cooling in his armor. Daniel vanished into the jungle as plasma shots sizzled blindly in the dark. He didn't need to win every battle. He only needed to remind them, humans were still the most dangerous when cornered. In the distance, above the burning ruins, a drone camera flickered as it scanned the empty field. On a broken crate, where Daniel had hidden, 1 brass casing sat upright. Etched in it, "You blinked." The uplink tower rose like a needle of obsidian, piercing the gray clouds above Cryon Delta 6. Wind howled through the crags surrounding it, carrying the electric tang of approaching storm. Daniel Hayes crouched at the edge of a jagged cliff, peering through his rangefinder. 2 kilometers out. Elevation, 173 meters. Wind variable, shifting westward. Glass panels shielded the tower's command dome, where General Corther's lawn now hid like a buried secret, coordinating orbital patrols, slave control signals, and security lockdowns across the sector. Hayes didn't have a clear shot through that dome. He didn't need one. He would make his own. The cave below the firing ridge was dry and narrow, filled with old gear from long-abandoned rebel caches. Daniel sorted through what remained. Ballistic gel, a laser cutter, 1 packet of high-density explosive paste. Enough. Barely. He laid out his rifle, calibrated every component, barrel tension, optic alignment, suppressor weight balance. Then came the bullet. He weighed it in his hand, polished, heavy, armor-piercing. This shot wasn't about numbers anymore. It was message and execution in one. From a distance, the tower shimmered in the mist, guarded by sentinel drones and crawling with Zarnath soldiers. At its core, behind reinforced glass, sat Corther. A warlord cloaked in polished dread steel, eyes locked on holographic displays. His hands moved slowly, directing the suppression of human colonies across multiple systems. "Expand shock units to the western ridge," he ordered. A lieutenant stepped closer. "The rebels are scattering, General. We lost over 90 prisoners yesterday. Their networks are fractured, but the fear—" "What fear?" The officer hesitated. "It's not them. It's him." Corther turned slowly. The room hushed. "I want his head, not his myth." He stepped toward the glass and narrowed his eyes. "I want to watch him die." Hours passed. Rain fell in long, silver sheets. Daniel didn't move. He lay prone beneath a natural rock overhang, body steady, eye fixed through the scope. The uplink tower's dome rotated slowly every 30 seconds. He marked each turn, studying the refracted angles. His bullet couldn't just strike. It had to shatter. He did the math again. Refraction speed. Bullet travel time. Angle of tower spin. Internal airflow within the dome. Ember's voice cut in. "You're too quiet." "Almost done," he whispered. "You sure this'll work?" "It has to." He lined up the scope. The dome rotated again. This time, Corther stepped closer to the edge of the glass, gazing down over the landscape like a bored god. Daniel exhaled. Trigger squeeze. The bullet left the barrel at supersonic speed, no flare, no sound, only motion. It soared across wind shear and rain, slicing toward the tower. And then, impact. The round didn't aim for Corther. It hit the panel just left of his face, fracturing the integrity layer. In the span of half a second, cracks webbed outward like lightning across the dome. Corther turned, confused. Daniel fired again. The second shot pierced the glass. The bullet struck him cleanly through the jaw, exiting near the base of the skull. His body fell backward, his blood spraying across command consoles as emergency sirens screamed. The dome buckled, shards raining down. Drones spun out of control. Lights flickered. Inside the tower, chaos erupted. Outside, Daniel stood, packed his rifle, and vanished. Later that night, Ember's voice returned. "We confirmed it. He's dead." "Good. There's more," she added. "Slave control relays went down when the tower collapsed. All the collar signals across Cryon are gone. They're free." Daniel didn't speak. "You ended it," she said. "No," he said finally. "I started it." At sunrise, human resistance groups emerged from the jungle. One by one, outposts were abandoned. The Zarnath command structure fractured without Corther. Their broadcasts turned to silence. A week later, Ember found something beside the crater where the tower had stood. A single brass casing. Etched in it, "This was for all of us." Some say Daniel Hayes disappeared after that. Others believe he still walks the broken ridges of Cryon, rifle in hand, watching. What remained was not just a man. It was a message carved in lead and legend. You can mock a weapon, but never the hand that holds it.